Kamala Harris says she won't trust a Trump vaccine for fighting coronavirus. Bernie Sanders wants a plan in case the president refuses to leave office. Plus, President Trump fires back at The Atlantic over its latest anonymous story. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
All right, friends, welcome to the show. Happy Monday. Hope you've had a great weekend. If you're new to the show, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to start with Kamala Harris because Joe Biden, Kamala Harris are out on the campaign trail now. And if you tuned in Saturday, here's a link right up here for our Saturday live stream. I went over the race. I went over some of the issues that the Biden-Harris ticket are focusing on. Coronavirus, the economy, violence. Those are their main things. And on coronavirus, in each of the issues, they try and have it both ways. They bash President Trump for doing one thing. He turns around and does something else. They bash him for that too. Now, with coronavirus, she's doing the same thing. Kamala Harris was on CNN this weekend, of course she was, talking about the vaccine. And they want to bash President Trump for not having one yesterday. But when one comes out, then they're going to blast him for saying it's not safe. And so she was fed this question. Just look at this question from the CNN host. Just a softball. Just lob it up saying, okay, our next topic is going to be coronavirus, and here's your chance to bash President Trump. Here's a question.
So, as you know, President Trump has promised a coronavirus vaccine by the end of the year or maybe sooner. Would you trust that vaccine?
So it's just textbook stuff with the media. You see it. You saw it last week, how the media got criticized for being so easy on Joe Biden. The only serious question at his last press conference came from Peter Doocy on Fox News. That was the only serious question. Now Kamala Harris has this sit down with CNN and just gets served up. It's like, okay, our next topic's coronavirus. Here's the question to bash President Trump. Go. That was it. Here's her response.
I think that we have learned since this pandemic started, but really before that, that there's very little that we can trust that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth. From the beginning of this pandemic, he has called it a hoax. He has muzzled the public health experts. He has minimized the seriousness of it. He has created false expectations for the American people and American families.
See, it's classic. It's just an open-ended opportunity to bash the president. So Kamala Harris said she doesn't trust President Trump when he talks about the vaccine. She's not going to trust him on the safety. She'll trust the experts. She'll trust the experts, not him. But then she was asked if the experts were even going to be allowed to speak, if you could trust what they actually said. And here's her response.
If past is prologue, that they will not. They'll be muzzled. They'll be suppressed. They will be sidelined. Because he's looking at an election coming up in less than 60 days, and he's grasping for whatever he can get to pretend that he has been a leader on this issue when he is not.
So see there, on the one hand, she says, I don't trust President Trump. I don't trust him on the safety of this. I'm going to trust the experts. But then she says that President Trump will try to stifle them, to influence them, to silence them. So is she saying that she won't trust what they say either? So which one is it? Does she trust the experts, or when they do speak, does she not trust them? Does she trust the vaccine or not trust it? She tries to have it both ways, all in this envelope of bashing the president. But here's what's funny. Given these softball questions by CNN, it's so easy. She has a fun time. Joe Biden's the same thing. They can bash and bash, but Kamala is especially bad at trying to answer direct questions. She can bash the president all she wants, but then she was asked a simple question. She was asked, will you take the vaccine? When it comes out and it's approved by the FDA and it is being distributed, would you take it? She couldn't even answer yes or no. Here's her response.
Well, I think that's going to be an issue for all of us. I will say that I would not trust Donald Trump, and it would have to be a credible source of information that talks about the efficacy and the reliability of whatever he's talking about. I will not take his word for it.
You got to just love this. Here's a drug that would be made by experts, tested by experts, approved by experts, and yet she's not going to trust it. She can't even say if she would take it or not. Yet the whole idea of the vaccine is ammunition to bash President Trump. She's going to bash him for not having it. She's going to bash him for having it. And that is typical Democrats. Just talk to your friends, folks. Show them what they're saying. It's, do they want the vaccine or not want the vaccine? I mean, give me a break. They said the president didn't act quickly enough. Then he's doing draconian practices. I mean, we need the vaccine yesterday, but when we do have it, we're going to say it's not safe. This is Kamala Harris. This is the left-wing talking points doublespeak. And this was a perfect example that she said just yesterday. Check it out. Show your friends, because this is what we have to face here and forward and through the rest of this campaign, and probably, definitely into President Trump's second term, because I don't think the Democrats will stop even with a resounding election defeat. All right, so next we're going to talk about Bernie Sanders and his plan to go after President Trump. But first, if you're new to the show or haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified. We're making our push for 100,000 subscribers by Election Day. 100K by Election Day, and we can do it with your help. So next I want to talk about Bernie Sanders, because the whole Democrat machine is in motion. Talked about it Saturday. Joe Biden's out there, Kamala Harris is out there, and they've picked coronavirus, the economy, and violence as their main issues to go after President Trump. The economy crumbled because of lockdowns that are being dragged out in the left-wing states. People are coming back. Jobs are coming back. The economy is growing again. Unemployment keeps going down, yet they want to make the economy one of these. Coronavirus, President Trump acted quickly. They said he was being xenophobic. Then they say he doesn't do enough. Meanwhile, these guys were holding rallies. Joe Biden was criticizing the president back in January, yet continued to hold rallies through March. I mean, none of it makes any sense. So, but the overall strategy, those were just the issues, is the chaos, is to drag out this election, to cast doubt on the legitimacy of President Trump. And that's why they have this push for mail-in voting. We all know it's safe to go vote. People are out there protesting. They are protesting. They are gathering to protest so they don't have to gather to vote. That's what's incredibly crazy right now. They're holding protests so they can do mail-in voting. So they gather together there, but say it's not safe to gather for voting. We all know it's safe, folks. But with mass mail-out voting, we've seen the instances. I've gone over them. Kayleigh McEnany at the White House press conferences has gone over incidents of voter fraud. When you multiply that, when you expand this, it's easy to see what's going to happen. We know for a fact that in-person voting is much safer, much more accurate than mail-in voting. But they want this. The United States Postal Service just came out with a report saying they can't handle this, that their backlog, their supply chain can't handle mass mail-in voting. They've said it. Now the Democrats want to push it, but it's all, again, to cast doubt, to drag this out, and then claim President Trump won't leave office. Remember Hillary Clinton? She came out and threw that out there, that if there's controversy, the president might not leave.
Well, I think it is a fair point to raise as to whether or not, if he loses, he's going to go quietly or not. And we have to be ready for that.
And Joe Biden said the same thing as well. He came out and said that the president doesn't even want a fair election.
It's my greatest concern, my single greatest concern. This president's going to try to steal this election.
So this is just crazy. It's President Trump, and it's conservatives, it's Republicans who want voter ID. They want the elections to be as accurate as possible, as fair as possible, as resilient and impenetrable to fraud as possible. That's what the Republicans want. And he says that President Trump doesn't want fair election. And then Joe Biden says that the president leaves, we're going to send in the military and get him out of there.
You have so many rank and file military personnel saying, whoa, we're not a military state. This is not who we are. I promise you, I'm absolutely convinced they will escort him from the White House with great dispatch.
Wow. So that's Clinton. That's Biden. Now Bernie Sanders, he's jumping on the same talking points because the Democrats are always united in how they work together. He's saying we need a plan. We need a plan for in case President Trump refuses to leave office. And here's the story. Sanders floated the idea during an interview published Saturday by Politico, saying that Trump's rhetoric up to this point had given every indication that he might refuse to leave if the election did not break his way. This is not just idle speculation. Trump was saying that the only way he could lose the election is if there was, let me get the exact quote, the only way they can take this election away from us is if this is a rigged election. Now he's making that statement at a time when virtually every national poll has him behind, Sanders explained. Oh, yeah, like all those national polls showed him behind when he was facing Hillary Clinton, even 2 weeks before the election. Folks, they are pushing for the chaos because they want to drag this out. They want to cast doubt. They want to put this idea in the American people's head that Republicans won't accept the result. Yet they are doing everything they can to put chaos into the system. We can vote in person. They know that. They want the mail-in voting so the chaos can drag out. Hillary Clinton even came out and told Biden, don't concede on election night. We're going to put the lawyers out there. We're going to drag this out. We are just going to litigate. That's what they want because they know they're behind. They know they can't win on issues, so they have to steal the election somehow. They are the ones that don't want the fair election. And here's more. Sanders went on to describe the nightmare scenario that he imagined can come about, saying at a time when some states like Pennsylvania are finding they don't have the resources right now to count votes, their mail-in ballots, in a rapid way, that it is possible that in some states Trump will be winning on election night, and yet when all the votes are counted, he will be behind. He will lose, but during that interval, he will create chaos and confusion by claiming that there is massive fraud within the mail-in ballot process. Give me a break, folks. We've seen this before. We've seen recent examples. Ballot cans just show up. Mail-in ballots, they don't arrive when they're supposed to. They don't arrive at the post office at all. We've seen it. Now he's trying to mock that system, that it would just be used. That chaos would just be used for President Trump's gain. We don't want the chaos. We want voting in person. These guys don't want it, yet they'll blame us for the long-standing chaos and dragging out the election. And they're all in on this, folks. Chuck Schumer came out. He tweeted this. This is important. I'm standing side by side with Senator Sanders to make sure that we have a plan if President Trump refuses to leave office. So keep on guard. They're going to keep pushing this. They can't win on those three main issues that I talked about. So now they're going to try and win through the legal process, through the chaos process, through the court of public opinion, even though the votes will go President Trump's way. All right. So next I want to talk about this story in The Atlantic, which is this far left-wing publication. They've come out. They're citing anonymous sources that say President Trump regularly disparages U.S. war dead, that he mocks them. Give me a break on this. The story is so bogus. It has no credibility. It's being panned by the media. The only ones that are grabbing onto this are the far left and Joe Biden. Joe Biden is out there using it. And here's the story. While the attempt struggled to gain traction beyond media already critical of the president, Democrat Joe Biden led the charge by asserting that Mr. Trump should apologize if the report by The Atlantic claiming Mr. Trump called U.S. Marines who died in World War I are suckers or losers is true. The president spent the weekend slamming the story as totally fake, and by Sunday, his administration was on the offensive, with Mr. Trump personally lashing out at The Atlantic's ownership and key administration officials taking to the talk shows to characterize the magazine's reporting as little more than a sloppily crafted political hit job. So, administration was out in force, and Joe Biden's saying things like, the president should apologize if this is true. And it's so ridiculous. I mean, just the sight of this. The story is anonymously sourced. No one went on the record for this story. Yet Joe Biden makes it a part of his campaign speech saying that I'm outraged if this is true. President Trump should apologize if this is true. What kind of talking point is that? How about you verify it's true and then get outraged about it? Because it's bogus. I mean, this is so ridiculous that they will actually make statements on hypotheticals. It's so crazy. So President Trump, he got out there on Twitter, and as the story is talking about, bashing the ownership, the people with the financial stake in The Atlantic. Who's one of them? The wife of Steve Jobs, and President Trump blasted her on Twitter. Steve Jobs would not be happy that his wife is wasting money. He left her on a failing radical left-wing magazine that is run by a con man, Goldberg, and spews fake news and hate. Call her, write her, let her know how you feel. So he was talking about the Atlantic's editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, who actually was the one who wrote the story. And he came out and defended the use of these anonymous sources. And here's more. Mr. Goldberg told CNN on Sunday that his decision to publish the article without any on-the-record corroboration from former administration officials was complicated. It's a complicated thing. As you well know, we all have to use anonymous sources, especially in a climate in which the President of the United States tries to actively intimidate journalism organizations and people who provide information to journalism organizations, he said. But the formula is simple. What you do is you have to say, does the public's right to know or need to know a particular piece of information outweigh the morally complicated and ambiguous qualities of anonymous sourcing? Give me a break, folks. I'm glad that President Trump is out on this, out in front on this, bashing the Atlantic, going after Biden, going after the contributors, because it's a bogus story. No one's even on the record, yet they publish this garbage and expect it to take in the minds of the American people. Luckily, most people have just moved on, are already ignoring this, come up with real stories. Maybe people will listen. All right, folks, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, and when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified, and we'll see you next time. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-Minute News Hour. Okay, friends, thanks so much for watching, and before you go, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you'll be notified, and here's a special video just for you so you can watch even more of the 13-Minute News Hour. And don't forget to check out GOPUSA.com for the best in conservative news and commentary. We'll see you next time.